Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that top six. And when you look at guys in the roster, not looking outside the roster, but guys like Kako and Lafreniere, how do you feel they've been used at 5-on-5? And when you talk about the power play, that first power play is out there for about a minute and a half, a minute 45 each time they have a power play. So what's their usage that you've seen at 5-on-5 and on the power play?
Well, it's interesting that the way you bring that up. I mean, my personal belief is I think it's time for the kid line to be broken up. Like I'm not a fan of the. I think Kako is the best right wing on the roster, and I think he should be on the top line. I think the team looked good when he was on that line. I think he looked really good when he was on that line playing with Zibanejad and Kreider, and I like to see him go back on that line. I think Lafreniere, so much has been made. He's a natural left wing. He's played left wing his whole life. Now they ask him to play right wing, and he played. When Kravtsov went down, they put Lafreniere in that right wing spot in the second line, and looked pretty good for a couple of games. I'd like to see that revisited a little bit. So I'd like to see those two guys. I'd like to see Kako and Lafreniere in those two top right wing spots. And then that would push, Goudreau down to the bottom six where he probably is best suited, and push VC down to the bottom six where he's, was expecting to play. And then what do you do with Kravtsov? Well, Hedl would have to play with somebody, and I think that, that might be a spot for Hedl. But for now, Kravtsov's got to get back in the lineup first, and then we'll figure out what we do after that.
And speaking of getting in the lineup, let's talk about the back end of that defense just a little bit. The Jones and Hayek scenario, just how you see that playing out as well.
Yeah, that's an interesting one. I mean, I think both are, they're two different players, and they bring different things. I don't know that either. I mean, they may need to go get a defenseman. You know what I mean? Like that. They may have to use some of that cap space to get a veteran guy to shore up that third pair. I'm not crazy about either one of them, quite honestly. They're both great kids, obviously. And, I think the thing that Jones is, it's the two of them competing for that sixth spot. I think Jones got the first look, and I think barring, any kind of injury or something like that, I think Jones is probably slightly ahead of Hayek in terms of the way the organization views the two of them. Me personally, I question whether Jones is big enough to do what needs to be done back there. He's generously listed, I think, at 5'10", and I think they list him at, I don't even know what they list him at, 185 pounds now, 80 something pounds. He said he gained 10 pounds over the off season, but to me, he looks, he looks a little small to be guarding the front of the net, right? So I think that's the issue that I have with him. Now his gig is that he's a guy who can be an offensive guy. He can run a power play and stuff, but we already have Adam Fox running the power play. So, I mean, unless there's an injury to Adam Fox, I don't see where Jones is going to get in and run that power play. So, you keep him certainly on the roster, you play him, but I think the thing that he can do best for you, he's not really going to get a chance to do. So I don't really, I like Hayek better, to be honest, if I'm being honest, because he's bigger, he's 6'2" and 200 something. So I think, he can do those things that Jones finds difficult to do, i.e. clear the front of the net. But, Hayek is that kind of guy where, he's had a couple of years to establish himself and he hasn't been able to do it. So that tells you that there's holes in his games too, in his game as well. And what he might be one of those guys that you can plug him in and he can look okay for 2, 3 games, 4 games. And then at some point, he kind of starts to trail off, and then you can plug the other guy in. So that's kind of what they're going to do for now. But I wouldn't be surprised if they do end up using some of that cap space that they've just created to get in, a veteran guy that can be more stable back there.